Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are going on an absolutely incredible journey. We're going to start by looking at the dazzling external magic of ancient mythology, and then we're going to trace how those larger-than-life ideas actually evolved into a profound, highly practical framework for internal personal growth. We're literally bridging the gap between the mythic gods of the ancient world and a very real, very powerful practice that you can use today. So what if ancient superpowers were real, but they were actually hidden inside you? Seriously, think about it for a second. For thousands of years, humans invented all-powerful gods to explain the vast, terrifying mysteries of life. Without modern science, our ancestors looked up to the skies and dreamt up supernatural abilities to explain everything from a sudden thunderstorm to the cycle of life and death. But what if those powers aren't just pure fantasy? What if they're actually a map to your own hidden potential? That brings us to Section 1, Myths and Supernatural Powers. Let's take a quick look at how ancient cultures across the globe sought help from deities with these unbelievable abilities. I mean, just look at the contrast between two incredibly famous mythological powers. On one hand, we've got Zeus from ancient Greek mythology, who famously used shape-shifting. It was this cunning, super versatile power that allowed him to transform into various creatures to get out of trouble or, achieve his goals. Then on the other side, we have the Norse god Thor, who relied entirely on raw superhuman strength. Thor wore a magical power belt that gave him the sheer might to wield his gigantic hammer, Mjolnir. So one power is all about adaptable transformation, while the other is about unyielding brute force. And honestly, human imagination certainly didn't stop there. Ancient peoples dreamt of flight, embodied by the Hindu demigod Garuda and the Greek winged horse Pegasus. They dreamt of invisibility, using the helm of Hades. They desperately sought healing from the Norse goddess Yer. They imagined teleportation with Hermes and Ganesha, and even resurrection through the Egyptian god Osiris. At a time when everyday life was harsh and super unpredictable, people worshipped these gods to ensure good crop yields, win their battles, and cure sickness. But let's totally shift our perspective for a moment. What if the superpowers of the gods were just metaphors for our own internal evolution, right? The crucial takeaway here is that maybe these aren't just tall tales about external magic. Maybe, over centuries, human focus actually shifted from worshiping gods in the sky to discovering the godlike potential hidden within human psychology. Which brings us to Section 2, Seeking the Inner Fire, the Path to Self-Mastery. We're looking at this idea today through the lens of some really fascinating modern academic research. In her Loyola Marymount University thesis, Tapas and the Hero's Journey, Stephanie Spence brilliantly pivots us away from the literal, external magic of world mythology directly into the realms of modern psychology and yogic analysis. The thesis proposes that the epic journey to conquer the world is actually just a mirror for the journey to conquer the self. Right at the heart of this internal journey is a concept known as tapas. It's a Sanskrit term referring to an ascetic practice or discipline. It involves self-control, spiritual purification, and, crucially, the inner fire of transformation. Basically, it's the use of self-discipline to overcome your physical and mental obstacles. Think of it as that inner flame of motivation and dedication that drives you to evolve. Historically speaking, tapas has evolved dramatically over thousands of years. We start way back with the Rig Veda, the oldest sacred text of Hinduism, where tapas was literal, cosmic heat generated by physical ritual fires used to explain the birth of creation itself. Then, moving along to the Upanishads, the fire becomes internal. It becomes a spiritual discipline to burn away distractions and gain ultimate knowledge. Finally, jumping to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, tapas becomes highly practical. It's an everyday, burning effort used in modern yoga to transform negative habits into positive ones. Let's just pause a second and appreciate the sheer poetic weight of where this concept began. The Rig Veda literally states, "Order and truth were born from heat as it blazed up." The ancient texts are telling us that the raw power of fire, of heat, is the very foundation of cosmic order. So when you practice tapas, you are literally tapping into that exact same raw, creative energy to bring order and truth into your own life. Now, we do have to acknowledge the flip side here, which is the danger of misusing this fire. Any discipline or power can be taken too far, right? When tapas becomes an obsession for destructive control rather than personal growth, the results are catastrophic. The academic source notes that powerful figures throughout history, ranging from the mythological demon Ravana to Adolf Hitler, who twisted the ancient symbol of the swastika, have completely misused the power of intense discipline for their own gain. Therefore, it's absolutely crucial to approach your inner fire with a positive mindset and clear, constructive intentions. Section 3, The Hero's Journey. It's a truly universal framework. As the author Richard Wagamese strikingly put it, all that we are is story. We change the world one story at a time. Storytelling isn't just weekend entertainment. It's deeply, deeply embedded in how we understand our changing roles in society. From birth to death, we look to the stories of our culture to make sense of exactly who we are. And every great story is actually doing double duty. There are two journeys happening simultaneously. First, there's the outward journey. The physical trials, the epic battles, the literal climbing of the mountain. But intersecting directly with that is the inward journey, the emotional and psychological growth of the character. When physical challenges force a character to confront their own internal flaws and emerge as a more compassionate person, well, that creates a transformational character arc. And this exact intersection is exactly what happens when you practice the Tapasya in your own life. Moving to Section 4, Transforming the Self. Let's talk about applying the journey. So how do we do this? Well, the ancient Bhagavad Gita offers a really highly actionable 3-step framework for this transformation, breaking tapas down into manageable daily practices. Step 1 is bodily austerity, treating your physical self with purity and practicing non-harming. Step 2 is vocal austerity, ensuring that your speech is always truthful, kind, and doesn't cause disquiet to others. And Step 3 is mental austerity, cultivating inner serenity and self-restraint. And remember, these aren't about self-torture. They are virtuous internal disciplines to focus your energy. Okay, let's tie this whole thing together. The mythological superpowers we talked about at the very beginning, they actually map directly onto the psychological shifts of tapas. Shape-shifting isn't about literally turning into a wolf or a bird. It's the profound behavioral transformation of changing your negative habits. Healing powers aren't about magical glowing hands. They represent the deep, often really difficult work of healing your own psyche. You are developing superpowers, just on the inside. And the ultimate payoff? The inward journey leads directly to outward harmony. The thesis we explored proposes a beautiful hypothesis. If humanity is ever going to evolve into a higher state of self-awareness and create a world of peaceful coexistence, we absolutely must individually embark on this inner journey. By doing the hard work of internal mastery, your outer world behavior shifts, which ultimately contributes to a much more harmonious global community. Which leaves us right here with a final, pretty provocative thought. Your quest begins now. How will you use your inner fire to change the world? The myths of old were really just the beginning. The real hero's journey is the one waiting inside you. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep cultivating that inner fire,